Ja, ich selbst bin Journalistin und da es so schwer fällt, mit dem Thema in die Medien zu kommen, ich enorme Schwierigkeiten habe, wenn ich das Thema anbiete, weil das halt immer noch leider so tabuisiert ist. Wir stehen hier vor dem WDR und kein WDR-Team ist da, um das hier zu filmen. Das ist ja auch ein Beispiel. Deshalb stehe ich jetzt hier in der Öffentlichkeit und versuche mal eine andere Art von Öffentlichkeit zu bewegen. Wir sind ein internationaler Tag der genitalen Selbstbestimmung. Da ist auch Englisch als Sprache normal, weil wir haben ja auch englische Gäste und wir haben eine internationale Gemeinschaft. Deshalb spreche ich nun in Englisch weiter. Dear members of the Icelandic Parliament, I would like to congratulate you on the legal initiative to ban genital cutting of boys, on your intention to protect boys in the same way as your laws already protect girls. I'm a German journalist and filmmaker, and I give lectures in the field of genital autonomy. My awareness about female genital cutting started on a trip to Ethiopia already in 1998. My awareness about the harms of male circumcision is a bit younger, about 15 years old. It started when I read Hanni Lightfoot Klein and her book, The Circumcision Scandal. I also made films on forced marriage, and I feel that all this is deeply connected. Reason why I stopped calling my occupation fighting against genital cutting of girls, I call it now campaigning for the genital autonomy of all. That's why I would like to encourage you to join and contribute what you can do on your side. When I came back from Ethiopia and wanted to present what I had found out about what people do to women and their genitalia, female genital cutting was still very harmlessly called, it was still called female genital cutting and harmlessly called like this, and it was still a big taboo in Africa as well as in Europe. When I wanted to write about it as a journalist, I heard reactions ranging from unheard of, unbelievable, via not to touch, and some people even said it's religion and a cultural practice to respect. Exactly the same reactions that I hear now when I talk critically about male circumcision. It was indeed only after Waris Dirie came out with her book Desert Flower that me and my colleague were able to produce a radio feature and a film on this subject in the German public media. Publishing about female circumcision was as difficult as it is now writing critically about male circumcision. I experienced a lot of rejection and no answers at all when I proposed this subject. With female genital mutilation, it was Waris Dirie who caused this breakthrough, calling it what it is, a mutilation, a human rights violation. This is 20 years ago, 20 years in which the worldwide perception of this tradition changed profoundly. Almost nobody in the Western world doubts anymore that the cutting of girls' genitalia is harmless and a ritual to respect. It took almost 50 years of campaigning for this, since the 1970s, in fact. And we have members here in our group, Ute Wellstein, for example, who started much earlier than I did campaigning against the circumcision of women in the 70s. She's a little bit older than I am. It was Waris Dirie's personal strength and courage to stand up and to talk about what really changed her life that brought the breakthrough. What really changed Waris' life was not her career as an international top model coming originally from a desert tribe. It was what happened to her when she was 5. It was what her mother did to her in the dawn of one morning in the desert. Her mother was meaning to do the best she could imagine for her daughter's future. Her mother wanted her to be able to find a husband and thus a good place in life. That's why her mother invited the circumciser and had her daughter's genitals cut off with a rusty razor blade. She had it sewn with thorns from the bush, all this on a rock in the desert, where nobody could hear Worry's screaming. This is the moment that changed Worry's life forever. This, and not her career. And this is the moment that changes each child's life, undergoing such a violent assault of integrity, with parents arranging this to happen and telling the child that this was for its very best. But Worry's, unlike most children, did not silence herself. Worry's stood up. Worry's raised her voice. She changed her world and ours with it. I think we are now at the edge of a similar breakthrough concerning the protection of boys. And you, as members of the Parliament of Iceland, with your new law, can help to play a similar birth helper role with a new consciousness, for a new consciousness. I think your legal initiative to protect children, boys and girls alike, will be a breakthrough in a new thinking in Europe. It will cause a new consciousness in respecting the wisdom of nature and the physical integrity of boys as well as girls. I think it will lead to a new and even deeper understanding of the Charter of the Fundamental Rights. Human dignity is inviolable. Children, just like adults, have a right of inviolable human dignity, and boys, just like girls, have a right of unviolent human dignity. The freedom of religion must be respected. It is a human right as well, but it should be limited when it causes bodily harm to somebody else. The freedom of religion should be indeed respected, but I think it should protect the freedom of children to choose their religion. We should not protect the freedom of parents to impose their religion onto their children, doing this, changing their bodies forever. Everybody should be able to choose his God as a conscious decision. It is indeed amazing that to this very day, European laws fail to protect children. You are really doing well in Iceland closing this gap. Worry's dearie said, "If I can save one child, one mama, that's my mission." Concentrating on one child, she changed the whole world of thinking. You can do this too in Iceland by changing this law. We do have laws now forbidding female genital mutilation. However, we still have quite a way to go. The practice is still alive. It still needs to be eradicated. 200 million women on the planet have been cut. 200 million women too much. And each year about 6 million girls are being cut. Right now, girls are being cut in spite of the laws forbidding this. Persuading parents to protect their children sounds easy. However, looking at it from a psychological point of view, it is hard work for them to do. They need to understand and to accept that their suffering as a child was unnecessary and harmful. They have to realize that their parents, who should have protected them and should known better, did not do so. They need to break with the loyalty to her parents. They must come to terms with feelings of loss, of pain, and of being a victim. And they finally must dare to go new ways in the face of a tradition several thousand years old, a tradition which is often backed by religious beliefs and pushed by the elder generation. Doing this is indeed pioneers' work. Parents who have been cut and who do want to protect their children must be admired for their freedom of thinking and acting. Parents who start to question this tradition do need our support. They need to be encouraged. They need to be backed up and offered new ways of thinking and acting. Laws can provide this frame. They can offer new ways of perceiving the world. The definition of basic human rights changed the world for the better, and is still changing it. The more we respect human rights, the more we become sensitive when they are being violated. In changing this law in Iceland, you will help all of Europe, if not the world, because in doing so, you will cast a critical eye on the way we right now are protecting our children against violence. You will make us realize that so much more should be done. How can we persuade a father not to have his daughter cut if he was cut himself? 1/3 of our men on this planet have been cut, 1/3 too much. These fathers underwent an experience of helplessness as a little boy. They were cut by a group of men in the generation above them, a strong group of men, engraving into the flesh of the little boy what it is to be a man, that a man has to confront violence by denying it, by denying that it exists, and that cutting genitalia was a good thing. I'm deeply persuaded that female genital mutilation and sexual violence can only finally be eradicated when girls and boys alike will be protected against all forms of overpowering violence and assault. These girls and boys that you can help to protect with your new law will one day be adults, sexual partners, and parents. If you protect them by voting for this law in Iceland, they will hopefully not have to go through an experience of violence, being helplessly overpowered by the elder generation. They will grow up as powerful human beings, not deprived of the full range of sexual sensitivity that nature offers us. And they will then be parents who will never again have the idea that they should do to their children what their parents did to them when they were children. In changing this law, you can support Worry's mission, save one child, and you will change a whole world of thinking with it. I can only encourage you to vote for this new law.